Hello everybody, here's Fernando Free Fuentes once again with Pro Play Games. I'm here to give you a deck profile for the new OP-02 season, and this deck profile is going to be the very anticipated Kinemon leader. So I'm very excited to show this leader off. He's going to be one of the powerhouse decks in the format, and this is my initial build for him. I've done some light play testing, a few local tournaments, and it's been putting up good numbers. I've gotten decent results so far. In the tournament that I did, I got third out of 34, 35 people, so that was pretty good. And yeah, let me show you the build that I have right now. So obviously the main leader, Kinemon. I find it really funny, his expression in the full art. So this is the leader that I chose, the artwork that I chose for him, and it's pretty cool. He basically reduces all Wano cards that you play when you have one or less dudes in play. So when you have a small board, you can go ahead and play multiple characters in one turn, and doing that gives you a little bit of a tempo advantage against maybe other green matchups, and then obviously the rest of the format. So we try to leverage that ability as much as possible, and yeah, so that's the leader that we'll be using. And then for the cards themselves, we're going to start out with the most basic ones. It's going to be 4 Momos, very standard, your Wano Searcher for the deck. And then this deck also utilizes the Supernova package, so we also have 4 Bonnie. Just like increasing the consistency of your deck by adding these searchers and kind of insulating your life total a little bit, because any attacks that goes into these guys don't go to your face, so that's pretty good value. So we have the searchers there, and then moving on to some of the new additions to the deck, we actually have Kazuki Toki. And Kazuki Toki is actually a very interesting card because it's a very polarizing card for the community, because some people swear that it's very, very good on auto include in any deck with Odin. And then other people really don't want to play any copies of it because of the conditional nature of the blocker effect. I fall in the kind of like an in-between camp. I just use it as a late game 1 Dawn blocker, and then early game is just combo power. So it bridges the gap in a lot of scenarios when I have an extra Dawn open, or in the late game when you need to do some tempo plays. So it's worth playing as a 3 of. It's also very important that it's one of the only blockers that you can get with Mononosuke, so it having the Wano tag is very significant for that reason. A quick word on the ratios for the deck, actually. So you'll see that by the end there will actually be 25 Supernova cards and 25 Wano cards. So I wanted both of the searchers to have the maximum chance of hitting at all times, so it made it very balanced deliberately in that sense. So, and then the other blocker is going to be Veg. He's just unconditional blocker, 1 drop, still very broken. So that's cool. So that's all the 1 cost cards. We're going to move on to the 2 cost cards. Scratchman, it's the searchable 2k guard. Not much to say about him. It's pretty standard. Something a little less standard, I would say, in this format actually, but still pretty good, is 3 copies of Killer. The thing about any like low cost blockers that cost more than 1 right now in the format, they might feel a little slow because there's a lot of cards that can interact with them. One that comes to mind, for example, is Seaquake, the 9-drop Newgate. All of those just destroy these low drop blockers for free, so they seem to have a little bit less value, but I still play some amount of Killer just because when you resolve the draw effect, it's just really backbreaking for the adversaries. So I played a 3. And it has combo power, worst case scenario. So the bread and butter of this deck is actually Okiku. Arguably the bread and butter of the first iteration of green in set 1, but now you get to play her for 2 Dawn when you go second. Most of the time you go second with this deck, or that's the ideal. When you win the dice roll, prefer to go second, get 2 Dawn, play Okiku turn 1, and you have control of the board. for the majority of the early game. So definitely a 4 of, and you can also search it out of your Odin, which we'll see later, and you want to get maximum consistency, see at every turn 1, so you just play 4. To add to that consistency, when the games that you whiff on Okiku on turn 1 can be pretty devastating. I was finding that I didn't play Raizo at first, and then I realized that some games I just didn't have a turn 1 play going on the draw, even though I always want to go second. Or at least not like a really efficient one. Maybe I played like a Mononosuke, tap it, or something like that, but that wasn't really what I was trying to do, because I wanted to maximize the efficiency of the leader effect. So I ended up adding a few copies of Raizo just to get a little bit more consistency on the turn 1. So added 2 copies of him. Searchable 102K in Izo. It's also very powerful tap effect on 4 drops. They seem to be a lot more prevalent now with the rise of more blue playability in set 2, so definitely a pretty strong card. Then my actual favorite card to come out in OP-02, I think, besides the 9-drop Newgate that we'll see in other decks moving forward, this card is actually one of my favorites. Yamato, just a 4/6 vanilla stat line, but with a lot of effects on her actually. Tapping down to 6 or less, very powerful. Being Kazuki Odin, obviously for our Koki blocker, and then just all around a very well statted card. And then playing it for 3 off of Odin, just to curve out with, you know, doing. I'll show you guys right now. Doing Okiku on the first turn of the game, going second, and then following it up by reducing Yamato, tapping something down, and then, you know, putting it down on Okiku, tagging a second card while Okiku attacks the tapped card. Is a very strong 1-2 punch that you can just outright win the game as early as turn 2 with that. So just an all-around outstanding card. We played a 4. Having no combo power is the argument that some people give me to reducing the count to maybe 3, but I just want to see the card as often as possible on curve with Okiku, so I just, you know, play it at maximum consistency is my reasoning for that. I go ahead and play 2 I reduce the count of Law in the deck just because there's too many no combo cards in the deck, and he's genuinely really powerful for mid-range like value plays when you can't. Essentially, when you don't have the space to play a bomb, and you also don't want to activate your searching cards and all your other cards, you kind of do a mid-rangey play where you only pay 5 down for him, kind of recycle your resources, and then you can go ahead and sort of not overcommit to the field, while at the same time getting value out of attacks from characters that you don't want to lose. So overall, he's just, you know, he was really good in OP-01. He's still good here, just at less numbers because, again, no combo power. To play combo power, actually, and to still have that sort of mid-rangey threat, I actually added 2 copies of X-Drake. So X-Drake is phenomenal in the blue matchup. That's why he exists. Also in the mirror match, he picks off Yamatos here and there as well, you know, if the opponent becomes susceptible to it. It's just an overall almost mandatory card for the format, I want to say, because it's just so easy to defend, you know, your threats in OP-02 if they don't get, you know, single target blown up by cards in red mostly, like Gum Gum comes to mind. But for the most part, protecting your cards is pretty easy, so X-Drake just punishes people for going aggressive with their threats in the mid game. And that's why we play 2. You really need it against blue. I would say the matchup becomes a lot easier with him in your deck than not. So you play 2 copies of 7. So it might seem like a low count of the end game like bombs, but honestly, you always just want a Kazuki Odin as your main late game threat because he just ends the game by himself. He's literally the best card in the entire deck by far. So, you know, when you don't have Odin, you still need to make, you know, leverage some sort of a play with 10 Dawn turns, and Eustace Kid is the other bomb that you want to, you know, use in those scenarios. So I play 2 of him, and then here he is. So the main point of the entire deck is to play Kazuki Odin. If he gets outed, you get Okiku, and Okiku tries to wrap up the game from there. And if he doesn't get outed, obviously he just wins the game by himself. Tap 3 Dawn, attack a second time, magic number of 9 if you added on to it. Just all around a fantastic card. So we don't max out on it simply because, like I said before, green has a very large problem with no combo cards. I find myself having 6-7 cards in hand almost every game without a single card having combo power in some scenarios, because I at one point had too much late game in the deck, so I trimmed that down, added a lot more combo power, and now it feels a lot more stable. And yep, he's just worth playing at 3. It's a pretty solid number. The last cards are just event cards that I like. So whenever you're in game states where you have, so Pump Gibson, I'll start with it first, because honestly I feel like Gibson has been contested whether you play 4 or not for the longest time, but it's always been a 4 of in my eyes. I played 4 in set 1, I still play 4 in set 2. Trigger effect is an auto win in a lot of game states, and then obviously plus 4k cards are necessary for the late game. If you don't have plus 4k in the late game, you just lose outright. And then the tap of 4 drop or less effect, it can be game breaking in some scenarios, namely the black matchups have a hard time playing around it. So, and black is naturally one of your counters, I would say, in some scenarios. So definitely you just need 4, and not much to say about that. And then the last one of is Paradise Waterfall, just to round out. It's a 2k counter that you can get with Mononosuke, and it does a lot of cool combo plays with 7-drop kid. So you play 2 7-drop kid, 1 waterfall, you have that little package, and yeah, that's the entirety of the deck. Again, guys, very good mid-range deck, I would say. Tier 1 for sure. Controls the board a lot and gives you great late game bombs. I would say for weaknesses, has a tough time with very heavy card advantage decks. I would say Zephyr is the main bad matchup, just simply because they start outvaluing you in the late game. And other notable matchups are Ivankov. Can also be a coin flip because of how much card advantage they can accrue. They can sometimes bounce your cards in unfavorable scenarios, but other matchups, red matchup, not that bad. And yeah, 4 life leaders get punished by Odin's double attacking, so definitely can leverage some wins there. So that's a little bit on the matchup spread. I hope you guys find success with it. I hope it helps you out moving into OP-02, and you can get your own deck building ideas from it. And see you guys next time.